The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by the Premium Cigars at Havana Smoke Shop. Visit their 2 locations, I-55 in Jackson and on the Res, for your premium cigar needs. Only at Havana Smoke Shop.
Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready? Yes!
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
Listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. It's already been a big week. We had 2006 American Idol winner Taylor Hicks, huge SEC football fan, in studio yesterday. That was awesome. That man can smash a honey butter chicken biscuit, right? You know, we talk about those guys that can sit on the back of a tailgate, right? Anywhere. And smash a barbecue sandwich and drink a cold Coors Light. Just kind of carry the conversation. That's Taylor Hicks.
Never would have guessed he was a singer if you just met him yesterday.
No,
he comes across as your friend's dad.
Yeah.
That you just meet down at, the bar.
Yeah, he comes across as a guy who owns a concrete company.
I was about to say construction or landscaping business, but he doesn't
He's
do
a
it
landscape
anymore.
architect.
Yeah. But he's got like 6 crews now.
Yeah.
He's not in the field anymore.
He's good.
Yeah. But that's what he
gets everybody going in the morning.
Yeah.
And then he's somewhere else.
But he's at every football
by like 11 a.m.
Every football practice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and he's tailgating in high school games on Fridays in a good way.
He's head of the booster club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he just felt like a norm, and I get it because he's from Birmingham.
Will said he changed shirts outside,
which is hilarious.
Hey, so he was wearing a T-shirt and he threw on a polo shirt, untucked with jeans, looked like he just walked out of a dryer, and just hanging out with us.
Nothing about him was celebrity-like until it was time to go, and then it was time to go.
Here's what's great about that: right when the mic is going, he understands the whole deal.
Yeah. When the lights come on.
Yeah.
It's
That's why he'll always be able to make money.
Yeah. Well, and he said, he'll just go back to worst case scenario, he'll just go back to the Floribama.
Yeah. Well, he's already way paid. He doesn't have to work ever again. But as he said, I love doing. He's like, you can tell he
wants
feeds,
to perform.
Yeah.
It's a drug.
Thank you, buddy.
It's a drug.
He wants projects.
Well, I think
people that have. There are people who, need to continue to have fun, fulfilling, challenging projects in their life, even though he's a multi-millionaire, and that's cool. But he's going to do the charity concert, all right, charity benefit concert for Friends of Children's Hospital at Dooling Hall. Taylor Hicks, August 20th. You can go to ardenland.net. And Friends of Children's Hospital is the fundraising arm for Batson Children's Hospital. And it's super cool that Taylor Hicks is going to perform. And that'll be a great night at Dooling is we're very fortunate to have a lot of stuff that we have. And Dooling is one of the really cool music venues that we have. The show is brought to you by the delicious steak at Kessler Prime. Sports Intern 1 and Sports Intern 2 got to, we took, because we've got one leaving. Tucker's going back to Ole Miss tomorrow or Friday. And
he's sharing that championship standard with him.
That's right. Blake has made sure to tell him all summer that he's a national champion. But anyway, the point is, last night we smashed some steak and some we ordered them some bacon.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got to do the bacon. They had soft shell crab for the first time in what felt like
crab. That's what it was. Yeah. The soft shell crab was phenomenal. And so we had a big feast, so to speak, out of bounds feast.
There you go.
At Kessler Prime. You can visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. And we wanted to do that before we lost the crew
there you go.
For the fall as school starts back and so on. What were you laughing at? Something popped up?
Delta Tide fan wanted to let us know that Taylor Hicks were at the Feinbaum shows. Oh,
all right. Yeah. Actually, if I may have known it. I just have never really thought about it. But we did talk about that earlier. What's this guy's name that you just referenced?
On the text line?
Yeah.
Delta Tide fan.
Delta Tide. Okay. I thought you said Delta Chi or something. But so Delta Tide fan, we talked about this earlier in the show, the fact that Taylor Hicks wrote the song for Feinbaum, and he mentioned yesterday when he was in studio he's got to add Oklahoma and Texas to it.
Yeah. He said he was more nervous.
Sooner than later, too, man.
Yeah. He said he was more nervous writing the Feinbaum song than he was performing the finale of American Idol.
I thought that was awesome because his dad put pressure on him. Because Feinbaum is our dad's show. And,
yes.
My 3 guys in here aren't watching Feinbaum. They're all 30 and under. And that's fine. Again, Paul's had a successful career. But it was, I thought it was hilarious, Blake, that he said, yeah, my dad put pressure on me. Don't screw this up.
Yeah.
You can't write the song and it be crappy, and I hear all these callers dogging you.
And he's from Paul's hometown. Like, he's from the state of Alabama. He's in the heart of it. There's no escaping it if you screw it up.
No,
right?
there's not.
Like, you live in it
right
at that point. Like, there's no bigger Feinbaum fan state than Alabama.
Absolutely.
So you can't.
And that's where he cut his whole deal on jocks, and
you can't screw that up if you're. And obviously he didn't. It's great. I mean, we all know we all have that kind of melody. It's like the CBS Saturday song. Like, you just kind of, when you hear that melody, you know what it is.
You just said melody.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I said head on a swivel before the show started. I'm locked in.
You are locked in. I want to talk about this article on theathletic.com. Want to say good morning, welcome in. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. There's still a lot of discussion as to what the Big 12, the orphaned 8, are going to do now that Texas and Oklahoma are going to move over to the Southeastern Conference, probably sooner than later. Okay, I would have to believe that once the attorneys get their pound of flesh, that we're going to make, this thing's going to get done, and we're going to see Oklahoma and Texas in before 2025, which is scary. It won't be that long. But I think it could be, like by the 2023 season, but we'll see. All right.
And just in time for Arch Manning to start at Texas.
Wow. Taking shots at Tucker again.
Just facts, man.
Okay. So here's the deal. The Pac-12 is not going to pick these teams up. Now, the Big 12 commissioner and the Pac-12 commissioner met and talked, trying to figure some things out. And I think the Pac-12 actually holds the cards on that deal.
That's crazy
okay?
to say.
I know that's crazy. Because the Pac-12 has made one terrible decision after another. But Larry Scott, their commissioner for a long time, is gone. And they hired a very, very sharp, successful media exec to lead the conference, hopefully to better media rights deals. All right. So, and they still have a monster in their conference. And all you have to do is have one. Okay? But if you don't have one, you don't have anything, like the orphaned 8. You see where I'm going? TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, all of them, they don't have one. If you have one, you can still hang in there, and they can be the anchor for you. Southern Cal is still one of the top 5 brands in collegiate athletics, and it ain't close. They're an absolute monster. Now, I know they refuse to get their act together a lot, but when they do, we all know what happens. They become interesting. They move, drive eyeballs, and so on. And when they play Notre Dame or another big team during the regular season, people you may not watch them play Arizona. It's fine. Or Washington State or whatever. Except when Gardner Minshew, and then we're good. But you know what I'm saying, right? Or Cal Berkeley. But when Southern Cal plays Oregon or Notre Dame or someone else, that's got some juice. And so, Blake, the only thing I can think of is the Pac-12 surely is not going to do a deal with the Big 12, even where they just play a lot of games against each other. And they've got to do this with the Big Ten. They're already tied together for 100 years because of the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
They just need to play each other more. This is not hard. And I think Klavkov, I guess is his name.
The problem is
Klavkov is the new commissioner of the Pac-12. Surely he just said, look, we want Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin, huge schools with big alumni bases, to come out here more, and we'll go into the Central and Eastern time zone more. Now, are they going to merge together as one conference? No, but they do a deal where they play a ton of non-conference games against each other? Maybe? Is that where we're going?
No part of me believes the Pac-12 won't screw this up.
Even with the new commissioner?
I mean, Leopards don't change their spots.
Okay. That Out of Bounds show is brought to you by Modelo. It's a Wings Wednesday presented by Modelo.
You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show podcast, presented by Independent Roofing Systems. If you want it done right the first time, visit Independent Roofing Systems today.
I keep looking at this SEC football schedule, and LSU should be the clear-cut number 2 team in the SEC West because of how they recruit, right? And their talent. I mean, golly. And honestly, if LSU was run right, they should be actually the favorite this year. Shouldn't be Bama. Bama's breaking in a new QB, new offensive coordinator. Even though Bama's got a slight edge in talent on paper as far as the recruiting rankings, LSU's still a top 5 recruiter. And I'm looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, when I look at the SEC West, who in the hell is going to win? I mean, who's going to finish second? If Bama's going to win it, which could they stumble? I know it's extremely difficult for them to do so. Could they stumble enough to tie for first? I find it hard to believe. Auburn's not going to do it. A&M's not going to do it. Now, Ole Miss is kind of over there in the thick grass, like ready to pounce. Do they have enough? They're going to be exciting. I think they can beat a lot of people. I think that they have the best player at the most important position. But do they have enough through all those physical games to win, keep winning, even when it gets to, shoulders, hips, ankles are beat up, losing some players here and there? Do they have enough in that, if they do some cool things early, do they have enough in that November run to finish it off? That's the tough part for an Ole Miss, Mississippi State. If you feel like you've got that team that's at least capable of pouncing, right? And so, the one part of this Ole Miss schedule that really, I like their team. I like the fact that we've got the Corral Kiffin, combo. And I do believe that they can beat anybody on their schedule, including Alabama. It'd be very difficult, but I do think they can. However, there's this run of 5 games that I mean, when I tell you have to be so good, so clean, really special. And it's at Bama, Arkansas at home, which is no longer a pushover, at Tennessee, which I know they're not special, but they have top 15 talent. They're physical. Should you win? Yeah. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. LSU at home. I mean, this is all in a row here. And then at Auburn.
Yep.
And I know Auburn's not going to be really good, but they're salty and physical enough.
They could be good on defense, too, with Derek Mason.
With Derek Mason, that they could still beat you. Yeah, should you win that game? Yes. So my point is, at Bama, Arkansas at home, at Tennessee, LSU at home, at Auburn. That is a physical, maybe the most physical stretch in the. Remember, Mississippi State had it. Was it last year when Brad Edwards was on the show? Yeah, he was talking about ESPN, so. FBI. They had the most physical 3-game stretch, I think it was, of last year's schedule. This could be the most physical, daunting, challenging 5-game stretch in all of college football. And Ole Miss could win some of those games. And they could be very competitive in all or maybe but one if you catch them on a weekend where they're really banged up. But what is realistic there? I mean, Ole Miss's expectations this year, they'd like to go 4-1. You go 4-1 in that stretch, you're unbelievable.
Yeah.
You go 3-2, you're really good, but as fans, we don't. That's like not good enough. But 3-2 in that stretch is awesome.
Under Dave Bartu's TLC idea,
yeah,
they're gonna be favored to beat Arkansas and LSU. I would think. I don't
know if they're going to be favored to beat under his thing.
TLC, talent, location, coaching, right? So they're behind in talent to 4 of those 5.
That is correct.
That's what you got to remember.
That's correct.
You're behind in talent to 4 of the 5.
They have they have such a better quarterback and offense than Tennessee and Auburn, and I think LSU, unless LSU gets it go. I mean, does LSU have quote unquote more talent?
They have potential to have a good offense.
But what I know from Ole Miss is Ole Miss will be really, really, really good. If not number 1, 2, 3, maybe in the country on the offensive side of the football.
I don't disagree with that, but I think Bartu kind of, when he equates that into the coaching thing. So if you look at the coaching side of, if you're down 1-4 in talent, right? You're underdog 4 games in talent. In coaching, you are going to get beat by Alabama's coaches, and that's it. You're going to be 4-1.
Yeah, Kiffin's better than Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn.
Correct. So then it comes down to location, right?
Coaching. He's a better play caller. Well, out of actually the whole list, he's the best play caller, including Alabama.
Correct.
However, what you're talking
full
about
staff.
is
Yeah.
full staff, Saban, Alabama's talent. Kiffin's the best play caller in all of that stretch, but as Blake is saying, you're only quote unquote more talented on paper than one of those teams.
Yeah, Arkansas. So I think I think Bartu, and we'll get his take. I think Bartu would tell you they go 2-3 in those games on his TLC formula.
I agree.
That's going to be the question.
But they have to go 3-2.
And that was going to say, can you flip the script?
There's no wiggle room.
Can you flip it?
You can't go 2-3 during this run and have the season that you want to have, which means playing in a Florida Bowl or even better. Because you actually got a chance to play in better, because if Auburn kind of slings through the mud, they're not going to take that spot that you want of a better bowl game.
A&M's the biggest factor, right?
And A&M's going to slug through with the new QB probably. I mean, I know their talent profile has never been better, but I don't know what they're going to be on offense. I don't know what Jimbo's going to let this kid do and not do. I don't know. I mean, they've got a workhorse at the tailback position. They're supposed to be better in the line of scrimmage, although there are some questions on that offensive line. Now, defense, they've gotten after it. Elko and that D, I like some of the things they're doing there, but if they've got a hole or two on that O-line, you tell me how a young QB with Jimbo Fisher wanting him to process,
38 things,
72 different things pre-snap, how does that work? I don't know, so we'll see. Speaking of, who is A&M's biggest challenge early? They play Arkansas
Colorado.
and Mississippi State.
Just kidding. Alabama, week 6. I guess in theory it would be Mississippi State, potentially, but we don't know. I would say more likely Alabama.
Wow, they've got a nice opening schedule.
Yeah, they can start 5-0 fairly easily.
I didn't realize. That gives that young guy a lot of time.
Yeah.
To maybe
get settled.
He doesn't have to beat Kent State, and he doesn't have to beat Colorado
or New Mexico.
This new QB at A&M.
You can start 3-0 and be average at best at quarterback. Can I give you this that's scary for Ole Miss real quick? You mentioned that 5-game stretch. It comes after your open week.
Yeah.
How about let's just wrap it up like this. After your open week in week 4, you should start 3-0, and then your only gimme after week 4's open week is Vanderbilt at the very end of the season, right before the Egg Bowl. Because your other non-conference is Liberty, and they have a first-round projected quarterback. And by the way, it's
fighting
Hugh
Hugh
Freeze.
Freezes.
Exactly.
Come to Oxford and Vaught Hemingway.
What if you go 3-2 out of that 5-game stretch, and then you walk into Liberty and Texas A&M and you stumble? I mean, that you could be so beat up by the time you get to Liberty, the rosters don't look much different.
Do you think Freeze will go out on the square on Friday night?
100%. He and Kiffin are getting rowdy.
Do you think Tucker's going to hang out with Freeze?
Duh.
Okay.
BFFs.
All right. I'm just checking. Of course, if they say in Tupelo, then he can.
That's true.
Well, I mean, I guess he's perfectly capable of driving 50 miles if he wants to that bad. Huh. That's interesting. How did this happen? Hugh Freeze is at Liberty, and they're playing Ole Miss this year. This is insane. that this all lined up. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The Out of Bounds show is brought to you by Chris Corley, Angel Oak Home Loans. He'll shop the best rates for you. Chris Corley, Angel Oak Home Loans. Show is also presented by USA Pawn and their mega store, I-55 South McDowell Road, usapawn.com. You can order award-winning Jonesy Q rubs and sauces at jonesyq.com. Use promo code OOBShow if you order $20 or more and receive free shipping. That's jonesyq.com. Promo code OOBShow. Blake, I think it's cool that Ole Miss is playing in Knoxville. We don't get much of that with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. You went up a couple of years ago and had an opportunity to witness an amazing offensive display in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, it was Chip Kelly's day. That's what
Joe Moorhead, I guess, brought the offense up there. I don't know if they were really there.
No, they weren't, dude.
And so you sat in Neyland while Mississippi State lost to a terrible,
anemic Tennessee
team that was not special, even though they had like all these 4- and 5-star players.
You know, it's amazing.
They weren't. You kind of looked at them that day and you were like, okay, well, Tennessee kind of finishes like 13th composite. They should have some dudes and some playmakers. And then you watch the game, and then you realize, hey, if you ever questioned Jeremy Pruitt as a head coach, this was the exclamation point.
Let's remember this is a program that decided Alvin Kamara wasn't good enough to see the field. So,
right, different coach, but yes, they did.
That, if you remember correctly, Joe Moorhead
and Michigan decided that Tom Brady wasn't worthy of starting there.
That's true, too.
So almost two mirror programs that think they're powerhouses and blue bloods.
And have 1 year to hang their hat on.
And really are so far off the beachfront real estate that it's almost scary. And yet their fan bases at Tennessee and Michigan are like, well, I mean, we're just a whisker away from being Ohio State or Bama.
Yeah, they're like, a lot of whiskers.
Miles and miles and miles away.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what Tennessee did for us to put them in that spot. It's
they had
weird.
4 years.
I think it was because they had a big stadium. Oh, well, hang on. I think it's because they had a big stadium.
Yeah.
And they packed it for years.
Yep.
And then our minds play tricks on us, especially in sports. I mean, dudes, sports and women, sports cars, dumbs down a dude in 0.007 seconds, right? And I think our mentality out of World War II was, well, they built a big concrete stadium, and a lot of people go there. And like you said, they got just enough sizzle from Peyton Manning.
But if T. Martin doesn't win a title, it's not paid off.
Well, if that Tennessee defense doesn't win a title. But, talking about ferocious, along with an NFL running back. Well, they actually had two. And then Michigan, same way. But back to what we were talking about with Ole Miss's schedule, and that 5-game stretch is nasty. Can you go if you go 4-1, you're like going to the Orange Bowl or something. I don't know. Well, if you go 4-1, you may be going.
You might be in the playoff hunt,
right? But the part of the schedule that I'm referencing for Ole Miss is at Bama, Arkansas at home, at Tennessee, LSU at home, at Auburn. And if you go 3-2, you're rock stars.
Correct.
Now, that's not what I think Ole Miss fans are listening, going, oh, no, I want more.
But you're going to be only, I think you'll only be the favorite in 2 of the 5 games. So I think that you'll have to.
Arkansas and Auburn?
Yeah. I even might say Arkansas and LSU. I think because you're on the Plains, and if Auburn's defense is what we think it'll be, I think it'll be interesting to see how Vegas favors that versus how Bartu favors it.
Fair enough. You're right, and we're bringing Bartu on.
Yeah.
So I like that. We want to lock into that 5-game stretch and get him to give us best case scenario
and worst case
scenario, and then what he thinks will happen.
Yep. I mean, worst case scenario is 1-4.
It is.
I don't think you can go 0-5 in that stretch.
I don't think it's possible.
Well, no,
for
let me
Ole
rephrase
Miss
that.
To go
let me rephrase why
worst
it is.
case scenario because of Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin. And people are still harping on the defense, and that's fine. It is not 2004 anymore.
Just need one stop.
It's not 1998, and it's darn sure not 1979. Thank God. I don't mean to say it just doesn't matter, kind of like fielding in baseball, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, Ole Miss is going to be better on D by 20 spots. I know that still doesn't make them great, but you just got to be opportunistic, get a stop here or there when you have an offense like that. And it's not Jackie Sherrill, Mississippi State era anymore, where literally Jackie put so much – Jackie's a phenomenal coach, but there was so much pressure every year to get stop after stop after stop. It just wasn't realistic. Okay?
The Hold'em dogs mentality.
Yeah, that
doesn't work
should have
anymore.
been broken even then.
Yeah.
And I get that there are coaches that still Kirby Smart. If we can just get one more stop. Well, Coach, you've stopped them 8 out of 9 possessions.
Yeah.
I know, but if we can just get one more. Well, that's not how it works this day and age.
And the problem with defense is like what you just mentioned. An offense,
and nobody cares about between the 20s.
Well, and an offense only has to be successful 2 out of 10 trips, and you could still win, right? The defense has to be successful 100% for it to work that way.
Know.
That's the difference. I think that's why offense gives you the higher floor, higher ceiling mentality. I think it's interesting, too, when you look at this stretch for Ole Miss, Bo. Here's why 0-5 is potentially a possibility.
It's not.
Your most winnable game comes after your hardest game and your most emotional game, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it is, but I'm just saying.
It's not, I don't think. There's no way they're going 0-5.
The reason it's one of those things where you go, okay, well, what's their most winnable game? It's Arkansas and Tennessee, right? Back to back. Aren't those the two most winnable games?
Yeah, but I think that's overthinking. They're too good. They're not. They're not going 0.
I agree. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate on what it looks like.
The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Superior.ms. So that is it. I think that's a big talking point going into the next few weeks. That 5-game stretch. Now, Mississippi State's toughest stretch is usually Mississippi State draws these, chunks of games, and Ole Miss avoids them. Actually, Mississippi State's is kind of staggered this year, where, they've got to play the brutally tough teams just like Ole Miss. But they either have a week off to break it up, or a Vanderbilt's dropped in, or a Tennessee, So while LSU and A&M back-to-back is absolutely and totally brutal, one at home and LSU at A&M, there's not a chunk of 4 games. I mean, Bama at home, at Vandy, Kentucky at home, at Arkansas, at Auburn.
Do you have to go 3-0 on that stretch if you're Mike Leach, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt to Arkansas? So you're at Vandy, you're going to be favored.
It would be mighty nice.
Kentucky at home.
So let's talk about
Arkansas.
that. Is KJ Jefferson and so Will and Tucker doing something. Y'all think about KJ Jefferson from North Panola. KJ Jefferson from North Panola. Nobody cares about North Panola football, and I don't mean to be mean. I know it's good people up there. But South Panola was the deal for years, and now they've left the grid. And KJ Jefferson from Mississippi is going to be the starting quarterback at Arkansas under Kendall Browse, who is considered one of the top play callers in the country. Bartu has him as an A+ play caller.
Yeah, he's the only experienced guy on. So here's Arkansas's 5-man depth chart at quarterback. You ready?
Okay.
KJ Jefferson's a redshirt sophomore. Stephen Jones Jr. is a redshirt junior, and they got 3 freshmen. So that's all you got.
Okay.
KJ Jefferson or bust.
What
baby.
is KJ Jeff? Now, if anybody can do it, the Kendall Browse, Lane Kiffins, Mike Leach's, Dan Mullins of the world can just about take anybody, right? And be pretty dang good. But then when you give Kiffin a Matt Corral or Mullen a well, I guess a Dag, but that was kind of a long anyway. They can be special. But guys, KJ Jefferson, what are we expecting here? from the Arkansas Razorbacks. Because Ole Miss and Mississippi State are thinking, hey, if he's not quite ready, if he's just pretty good but goes through a lot of growing pains, it's a winnable game. Especially for
Ole Miss pulls
obviously
Arkansas
Ole Miss
early.
Pulls them at home, they're going to be a favorite. Okay,
Yeah.
Mississippi State on the road is not going to be a favorite.
No.
Now it may be a tight line. It may be 3, maybe 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, which nobody cares about that. The way that if you can score this day and age, rock and roll.
I will say Barry Odom has had Mike Leach's number in the past.
He
both
has.
at Missouri and at Arkansas.
Yeah.
So that scares you a little bit. KJ Jefferson was the 14th rated player in his class in 2019. If I remember correctly, Ole Miss pursued him late.
They no question recruited his tail off,
but it wasn't until the end,
the last month or so of the season, and wanted him to
as a backup plan
from Arkansas and go to Ole Miss.
And that
they didn't recruit him for a while. He locked into Arkansas early.
Yep. Was that Bielema?
No, I actually think it was the high school coach.
Oh yeah, no,
Mustaine?
I forget.
No. That was
he was the OC at Auburn for a second the last year too. Why am I going blank?
What's the guy's
Chad Morris
of
Clemson. Sorry, is that weird that I just erased the Chad Morris era?
You haven't been good at recalling names lately.
Chad Morris was terrible. Arkansas fans don't recall the Chad Morris era.
Do you remember when he was hired, Bartu came on the show?
He said it was a tantamount to a disaster.
He just absolutely burned him down day one. We had some Arkansas fans listening that I know everybody hopes when you get a new coach. Everybody thinks this coach is going to be awesome. And Bartu just burned the whole thing down on Chad Morris. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, he's fired. He couldn't win a game.
Is the reason Ole Miss signed JRP because they couldn't get KJ Jefferson? Is that right? Is that how that domino fell? John Rice Plumlee was signed when Georgia dropped him at the end.
So once Ole Miss
knew they weren't getting KJ.
We all see if they were in the same class.
They were 14 and 15.
Okay, there you go. All right, so once Ole Miss, this was smart of Matt Luke, and I don't remember who it was on the staff. But John Rice Plumlee had been committed to Georgia for months,
Forever.
but they did not stop recruiting him. Moorhead and them did.
Yes.
Bad decision. And so he's committed to Kirby Smart, I guess, but then Georgia went dark on him.
Correct.
In like October of his October of his senior year.
Pulled the offer essentially.
Without pulling it.
But,
but you know what's going. Like a lot of kids tell us they have offers, but it's contingent on
someone else signing. Or
exactly.
Something else
you don't have an
yeah.
offer. If it's contingent on anything, you don't have an offer.
No. If it isn't signable, you don't have an offer.
And maybe, as we were talking about yesterday, with like Will Rogers being 19th in the state of Mississippi, a lot of these kids will tell you they have X amount of offers, and they don't. Mm-hmm. They don't have them. So let's go back to KJ Jefferson. What is he going to bring to the table for the Arkansas Razorbacks?
They list him right now at 6'4", 250.
I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah, 245. He coming out of high school, he was 6'3", 211.
So he's like just a slightly smaller version of Chris Relf?
I think he's that would put him bigger than Dak. At 6'4", 245.
No question.
That's massive.
And Dak was a load.
Thick boy.
Wow,
KJ
he is that big?
Coming out of high school, they listed him at 6'3", 211, so he apparently has gained an inch and gained 30 pounds. I'm just telling you what Arkansas's depth chart...
is he too heavy? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's not.
Arkansas's depth chart lists him at 6'4", 245.
245?
This is like hefty lefty range, isn't it?
Are they going to do...
R.I.P. Jared Lorenzen.
Wow. Okay. I wonder how much he's going to run the football in that Kendall Browse souped up, modernized Baylor offense. Yeah. That's something to keep an eye on, too.
He's only 20 years old, even as a redshirt sophomore. So,
wow.
He
must have graduated early somewhat.
Kid. Yeah.
Okay. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Lunch today brought to you by Roosevelt's at Live Oaks Golf Club. Smash a delicious cheeseburger, wings, Philly cheesesteak sandwich, or the go-to for Blake, which is the chicken strip basket at Roosevelt's at Live Oaks. Want to welcome you in. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Show is also presented by Juniker Jewelry Store. Guys, don't screw it up when you're looking for that engagement wedding ring. Don't do it. John and the team at Juniker Jewelry Store will walk you through the process, and you will be the dude. Juniker Jewelry Store, earrings, bracelets, anniversary gifts, and so on. But if you're in the market for an engagement wedding ring, you want to start with Juniker Jewelry Store in Madison on Highland Colony. All right. Anything Bama fan is right on the Mississippi Ag text line. Tennessee fans do not, he says they hate Lane Kiffin. You're right. There's kind of still a lot of animosity there. He left after year one, but more importantly, he left right before signing day.
Yep.
And like just a few days before signing day, he took the job at Southern Cal. And that press conference got contentious that night in that whatever dimly lit building that they had in the football facility in 2000. And I think that was technically January of 10, right close to February signing day, as Southern Cal offered, and Lane Kiffin was like, I'm out. I'm going back to the Southern Cal Trojans. So, yeah, there's no love lost there, but that won't have anything to do with the game. And, yeah, I expect Neyland to be, loud, I guess. But
do you think they'll start putting people back? They have struggled attendance-wise. I mean, I'm not even talking about getting close. They've struggled to get to 60% and 70% attendance at Tennessee over the last couple of years. You think Heupel reinvigorates that program? Do you think they get people in there?
I don't think that Josh Heupel is some kind of.
You don't have to be Hugh Freeze, but you can be a slightly less effective version of that, right? I mean,
I don't think so. No, I don't think Josh Heupel's that guy. I don't.
Okay.
I do think that he's walking into about as good a situation as you can in college football, though they had some attrition, and I'd like the net on that, how many bodies did leave, and like where you would re-rank, because we kind of talk about their composite ranking being around 13. Is it still that high with some of the defections?
Can't be. Yeah.
Now, Tennessee boosters are going to make sure that they get some dudes. They have never been scared to throw that cash money down and around. But to answer your question, actually, I would say not Freeze-esque, more Mullen. Can these teams find a guy who will stay 9 years and consistently win above what you should win, right?
But if you're winning at Tennessee, you aren't leaving, right? Probably.
Probably not.
I mean, I think Tennessee is a high enough job where if
he would love
successful,
to go to Oklahoma if Lincoln. He would love to win enough to put himself in position if Lincoln Riley ever went to the NFL to go back to his alma mater where he won the national championship, and also maybe even. Oh well, and how about this? If he was going back to them, if that plays out, they would be in the SEC,
correct?
Because by the time Josh Heupel would get up and running
to win enough to get that job,
to be considered in that job, and Lincoln Riley to maybe move on to the NFL, the Oklahoma Sooners are going to be in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. It's still wild to think that the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners are going to be part of the SEC.
That's like something you did on NCAA video games when you were a kid.
Exactly.
You make your super conference so you could play all the best teams.
And that's my surprise team of the year, by the way, the Texas Longhorns.
That's everybody. PFF had them
Sark,
as the number one. Yeah.
You give me Sark, you give me a crappy conference, and I know he needs some more dudes, but look for them to rip off a bunch of wins and really, really make a play to be interesting again, to be fun, and we need Texas to be fun and good and interesting. They've been boring for a while. Charlie Strong couldn't figure it out. Tom Herman was close, but just once they realized, I guess once a booster or board of regent realized they could get Sark, they just called the president and said, we're firing Tom Herman.
If they weren't moving to the SEC, do they make that hire and fire?
I'm not sure they do.
I was about to say the same thing. I wonder if this was one of those where it was like the right people knew where this was going long term, and they said, even though we're getting rid of something good, it's for the potential of something great that we think has legs down the road farther than what Herman would have had in the SEC, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So we're hitting on a couple of things today. What do we have with KJ Jefferson at Arkansas? Because Ole Miss and Mississippi State want that game. They want that game. They both lost it last year. Ole Miss gave it away.
They both.
They both did.
It was
Mississippi State drove in the red zone several times could have easily. Both teams, as poorly as they played, and as many times as they turned the football over, had every opportunity to win that game. But now this year, what do you have? You got KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. He's from North Panola. Wasn't really that, again, a kid from that far up north that's not at South Panola or Tupelo or, maybe there's another program up there. Doesn't really get a lot of love. Now, was he a top 10 kid?
No, he was number 14. He was 14, one step ahead of John Rice Plumlee.
Okay. All right. He's going to be the starting quarterback at Arkansas. Stephen Jones Jr., Stephen Jones, son of Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones' grandson is still on the roster. I feel like he's been there forever. But anyway.
Yeah. Ole Miss and Mississippi State turned it over 11 times in those 2 games.
11 times and still had an opportunity to win. So is KJ Jefferson going to be good? Is he going to be good because that offense and that system is so awesome? Or is he going to be good because he's really good? I don't know. I haven't seen him play enough. Maybe y'all watched.
If he's an athletic 240 in that system, he will create mismatches that allow him to fall forward. Like it's going to be one of those Dak, Cam, Tim Tebow type
Ralph,
things,
but more refined.
Probably.
Okay.
Because he'll be able to, when it's one-on-one with a linebacker, he just doesn't fall backwards; he falls forwards, and that
Jamarcus Russell, but better coach.
Well, but Jamarcus was never used the way
correctly.
He was never used athletically. Like they never used him that way. And
Thank you, Jimbo Fisher.
Right? Yeah, there you go. So I think KJ could be good
if that lined up. I can't remember if Jimbo. Anyway, point is, go ahead.
I think KJ could be good and Kendall will be a guy who would use him that way.
Yeah, because Kendall Browse is super special. I can't imagine him. This has got to be his last year at Arkansas, right?
Speaking of,
Kendall Browse wants to go to the next big G5 program that's going to have an opening.
Well, can I put this out to you too? The Baylor findings are being released today.
No kidding.
Which may have
it
may have an impact on what Kendall Browse's future is.
Pour you a Modelo, big boy, this afternoon, and we're going to have to go through that.
Yeah. This dates back to Art Browse's tenure, which includes Kendall Browse. So this could have an impact on his ability to be picked up, I guess, as a head coach.
No
right?
question.
So
no question.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out.
I think he's going to come out okay.
I think so too.
I may be wrong. I think he's going to be fine. But that's a good point, Blake. Like if you put him at South Florida,
he'll only be there 2 years. Well,
Kendall, for our listeners, Kendall Browse is the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. You're going to face him again this year. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. It's what Kiffin was smart enough to bring Kendall Browse in at FA.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's the same.
You got to give Kiffin a lot of credit for kind of rebooting, looking at another way, looking at another option, looking down another lane, all the things that we talk about that we want to do. And look, man, Kiffin had watching rehab. He wasn't guaranteed much that he was going to land a job and be making $5.5 million a year or whatever Ole Miss is paying him again. He needed to make it work at Florida Atlantic. And you don't just walk in at Florida Atlantic and win. So he identified, and Kiffin had been watching Baylor. He's that guy that on Saturdays, he was watching Baylor going, dude, this is cool. I got to incorporate some of this stuff into what I'm doing at Bama, but then what I'm doing at Florida Atlantic. And when the Baylor thing went sideways and Kendall Browse was looking for a job, a lot of people could have hired him, right? Or maybe not. He was kind of toxic, but Lane Kiffin said, I'm going to hire him. And that's what Lane's running at Ole Miss. Now, that was a fun SEC Insider hit brought to you by the Charbroiled Oysters at Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar on the property of the Hilton Jackson on County Line Road, the official hotel of the Out of Bounds show. The Hilton Jackson on County Line Road and Drago's and the Charbroiled Oysters.